Welcome, everyone. I'm really proud of all of you. You could have been next door at the cannabis talk. How could I have to go against the cannabis guy or gal?
Free sample.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I could. My name's Steve Firemilk, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'm happy to be here, too. Although I'm from Arizona, which right now would probably be the better place to be right now. But it's been about 30 years since I've been in New York, so I get to spend the weekend here and have some fun. I have to ask a couple of questions to start. So by a show of hands, who in this room has a smartphone? Okay. All right. Who has ever downloaded a health or fitness app? Okay, that's a majority. And who has used that app for more than a month? More than a month? 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year? Okay, just look around. That's probably 10%. That makes sense. That really does make sense when you see some of the research. And so I want you to have an open mind today, and let me work with you to move you along this technology line, whether you use technology within your practice or not, or if it's something that you would consider doing if you get the right research and the right information. So I'm the Director of Lifestyle Medicine at the Optimal Heart Attack and Stroke Prevention Center in Scottsdale, and it's a great practice. I work alongside probably the best concierge cardiologist in the country. She was actually the first female in the country to become a concierge cardiologist. I usually tell her she's the first in the world, but then she gets a little bit embarrassed. So I work on the lifestyle medicine side. So I'm doing what a lot of us want to do, what you do, and what I want to do is help patients and try to find the best way to do it and to be more efficient when we do it and to be more effective. So today, hopefully, I'll walk you through some things that will allow you to see that. This is not the purpose of technology. Technology is something that is going to integrate. It's not something to use that our patients, our members, our clients should fear. It's something that we work together with them to help make a better connection with you. You have the slides. I'm not going to go through all the practical information here for you on this one, but I'm going to take some steps through here. So by the time you leave here, you're going to feel comfortable that, you know what, if I want to introduce some technology into my practice, into what I'm doing, I can do it. I feel comfortable enough to do it, and I'm going in the right direction. Because as you'll see, it's very easy to go in the wrong direction. So let's get on the same page together. What is mHealth? What is digital health? Because I want us all to understand that. And it doesn't have to be complicated. So basically, there's a bunch of things that come into this health technology. It has to do with services that are health-related, that use mobile technology and communication. And it allows an opportunity to work together with your patient, your client. It also involves wearable devices, and that's what I'm going to focus on. Wearable devices are things that patients may use in their own home. Electronic technology that uses some type of sensor or device that will measure something. Personalized medicine, which is really where we're going. And that's what our patients want. They want to have more personalized medicine. And there's not many ways we can do it because of why? What's the big factor usually? What's a big factor in personalizing medicine? What's that? Money. Why is it money? Time. Because how can you personalize your work with somebody? I mean, how many in a day could you do? You couldn't do it. So, personalizing medicine using mHealth or M Technologies, also health information technology and telemedicine. So, let's talk about why. Why would technology be something you'd want to include in what you're doing? You know, we have great patients, we have great people we work with, but we only see them for such a small amount of time. And when they're away from us, that's when they're doing the behaviors that we hope will support the things that we're helping them with. Because they're away from us most of the time. And unfortunately, we may know one or two clients or patients who have not been that successful with us, and it's not their fault, obviously. It's us because we didn't help them enough, right? But we're not with them enough. So how can we make a tether to them? How can we tie ourselves to them? Another reason why you might consider this is because of asynchronous communication. It's a benefit to both you and the people you're working with. What basically asynchronous communication, just to remind you, is where you don't have to schedule your conversations. You don't have to schedule your meetings together. Because we're all busy. You think you're busy. Think how busy your patients and clients are. So this way, we can use more of a, when you have time to respond, when you have time to give information, when you have time to look at some data or information and send it back to them. And I do want to say this quickly, is some of you are scared right now. You're saying, oh my God, I don't have any more time. I don't have time for this. How can I have time to look at somebody's data? Well, there's an efficiency involved in this, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the one that's going to be doing the data collection, doing the communication, the nudges, like to nudge the people a little bit. It may not be you. It may be somebody on your staff. It may be somebody with you, or it may be you. But don't just shut yourself off because you think, gosh, I just don't have time. This will definitely help with time. That's another reason why you might want to consider it. The technology is already in the hands of the people we're working with. It's very rare. We work with people from, under 30 to 94. And I've worked with technology with people in their high 80s successfully. So I got my little mom. She's got her Apple, and her hands are crooked. Her fingers are pointing one way or the other, but she's still getting in there and working on her phone, and she's 80 something. So they're using these. But a recent study came out. Actually, it came out just after the beginning of this year that said that older individuals are very likely to use health apps and health information as long as they get some support up front to know how to use it, because they feel embarrassed, they don't feel comfortable. I was talking to somebody in the back before, and they were saying how, if you don't know how to do something, you give it to your kid, or you give it to a friend of yours who has a kid, and they can figure it out. We just need time as older. And here's actually the stats for it. With smartphones, this is up till this is Pew Research up to 2018, the most recent I could find. And this is cell phones. Okay, this is smartphones. So 75%. It changes so fast. It's probably 85 today. It's probably 95. And as you'll see from the slides that you have on the deck that was given to you, since I put those slides in, a bunch of things have changed. And I put those in like 3 months ago. So I added some slides at the end, and I'm happy to share those later on with you. But know that things change fast. So this number is most likely higher. So there's a significant value with technology: connection, communication, maximum efficiency, engagement. And engagement is a big hot topic right now. Engagement, engage. And how can I engage better? Companies are paying millions and millions of dollars to help engage. Brick Health, Red Brick, just got together with Virgin Pulse, who worked with employees, and Red Brick, great employee platform, because they want to be an engagement company, because they had this great platform, but they couldn't engage people with it. They were hoping that the technology was just going to be enough. As you'll find out, it's not. Oh, this is one of my favorite slides, because this is what we do, and we love to do this. And wouldn't it be nice to have some more tools in your tool belt that can help create this motivational environment, so when people are away from you, that they're more likely to start thinking and processing some of the behaviors and the changes that you may be instilling on them? So mHealth has advantages in the World Health Organization. Actually, this one comes from a paper on digital health innovation by the FDA and the Health and Human Services and the Center for Disease and Devices and Radiological Health, that said that we're at an important part of a convergence right now of all these things. And we're there. The problem is there's a missing link that hasn't been brought along with it, and that's what I'm hoping to talk to you about today. mHealth offers this opportunity to really reach, but we can't just use lip service with it to reach more individuals. There is a way to do this effectively. There's and it's a very efficient way to do it effectively. Because the individual is at the center. I mean, think of why you do what you do. You know, if you could spend the whole day with someone, you may not want to with one of your patients, but if you could spend a lot of time with them and really get to know them better and then follow them along better and really individualize the things you're doing with them, it would make things so much better for you and for them. The other thing that comes up often is how knowledge is so important. But it goes beyond the knowledge, because when I asked you people here to raise your hand about having an app and using one, there weren't many people in here that have used them past 6 to 8 months, okay? There weren't many of us have, and there's a reason why. And the bottom line is we can improve the delivery of our healthcare with this. So the bottom line with this is we cannot ignore all of the technology that's out there. However, there's a lot of it we can't ignore, and I'm going to show you that too. I'm going to show you that all at the end, so you have to stay. No cannabis today. They're very readily available, very easy to get apps for the people that you're working with. The wireless broadband, mobile phones, tethered. So who left their smartphone in their room? Nobody. You know, I love it when a patient comes in and it's a new patient, and they're like, Dr. Steve, I'm asking them questions, and how kind of activity do you do? And they'll say, oh, I'm not very active, Dr. Steve. I just go to work and I come home. And I said, well, can I see your phone? Okay, I get the phone, open up, it's Apple, and I go to the health app. You got this health app on. No, I didn't know you had it. So I go into the health app, and obviously, if you know the health app, there's a whole history since the day she was born almost, where she was, all her steps she was doing, how her intensity was, and so on. And I was able to talk to her about that in a way that perception and reality came together. And actually, this woman was very active because she worked at Costco and ran back and forth. And she was so happy when I told her, you don't have to go to the gym. You get enough steps in a day. So that's where a nice thing about, because we keep our phones with us. We always have them with us. As a matter of fact, I don't have mine on me right now. I'm a little bit nervous. But I do have the phone, and it's connected on my watch. So, okay, how about you? How about mHealth and you, the provider? Here's the linchpin. mHealth, in what you do, is to support you, is to help you. There may be some upfront time to set things up, to work with maybe a health coach or somebody, or do it yourself, but there may be some upfront because there are these devices that patients have that are there to support you, not to detract from you. Improving the ability of providers to preemptively intervene, proactive. I love it when I get an alert on my platform that shows somebody's sleep has dropped at a certain level 2 hours in the last 3 days consistently. And I don't have to wait for 3 months or a week or whenever until they come back in the office and I find out what's going on, and they say, oh yeah, I've been sleeping so bad, I just don't sleep anymore. Geez, I wish I'd have known that when it started 3 months ago. Preemptively. That saves us time in the long run. It definitely saves us time. A study by Stanford talked about clinician engagement. And that is the most important part of this whole picture. Now, clinician engagement doesn't mean you're going to sit there and go through every day with a person on whatever you're measuring, whether it's a blood pressure, it's heart rates, it's activity, it's nutrition. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about those details. We're talking about using the information in the work you do with these patients or clients. That's all we're talking about. It's a little tidbit, maybe a little nudge here and there from that, if you get something preemptive. But that's how you maximize the value of any of these. So the people that don't use apps or don't use wearables. Oh, how many people in here have bought a wearable in the last year? Bought one in the last year. Okay. Who's still wearing the wearable? Okay. Wear it more than a year? Okay. What about smartwatches? Let's do it separate. Smartwatches. Okay. All right. Just curious. Here's a great introduction to nudging, personalized text messages. And what's wonderful is artificial intelligence is starting to help this. It's not going to take over the nudging. It's not going to take over these little messages that you might send, encouraging messages, or maybe they may forgot to put something to log something, or you notice that they haven't collected information for a while. We're not talking about the computer, the machine learning taking it over. People need to know there's a human on the other end. Maybe by the time my great-great-grandchildren are around, it'll be like the science fiction movies where it'll be just, you'll stand up to a kiosk and it tells you, and it's not in our lifetime. There needs to be a human behind it, somebody like you who cares about them, who cares about who they are. There was a study that took place that I need to point out that devices that monitor and provide feedback on physical activity may not offer an advantage over standard behavioral health loss approaches. Why would he put this up here? Why wouldn't he just hide this one in the bottom, that it didn't offer any advantage? Who knows why I might have put this on it? Because the press was all over this one. This was in 2016. The press was all over this one. These wearables and these apps do nothing to help people. What was missing? The coaching, a professional that was tied to them. They were looking at the apps like, oh, great, I got X amount of steps. What does that mean? What is it helping me? Is it worth all the time and effort I'm putting into it? So I was happy this research project came out. So, like I was asking you, most people don't use them. It's kind of like exercise, New Year's resolutions, starting them, and within 3 months, most people have stopped. So we need the professional. So using smart apps can improve knowledge. Research has shown that. Knowledge is power. Knowledge helps our individuals we're working with continue to follow those behaviors. Include the clinician's advice. Behavior change and behavior science has to be used. And I love seeing and you probably love this too, when you're seeing people you're working with and you can kind of see them progressing as they're changing and as they're finally personally taking attachment to what they're doing and personally involved with it and really want to do it and are personally intrinsically motivated to do those things, with your support getting them there, the personalized support. So let's talk about that M-Health and behavior change. And behavior science is big too when we're talking about engagement. So your ability to leverage technology is going to be based on your ability to apply different types of behavior change models. And I'll talk about that briefly. It's not complicated. I promise you it's not complicated. It's basically, here it is in a nutshell. When someone's ready, they're gonna be more likely to do something. If they're not ready, then you're wasting your time. Not that you'd forget about them and don't work with them ever, but you put them in a nurturing basket and you nurture them along and the way that matches them best and move them towards that behavior change. And there's been a lot of validations with all these methodologies. American Heart Association journal published that automated tracking and with texting intervention increased physical activity, but not without the texting component. For the behavior change needed that nudging, needed that information, needed that individualization from the coach or the person that was working with them. And we're not talking about every 5 minutes sending a message to somebody. That's where the asynchronous information comes in. That's what I love about it, is because when everything's quiet in the office, and you're sitting there, you can look at some of the, maybe the highlights that you need to hit. Certain people's came up on a list that you have on your platform, and then you address it then. And you set the ground rules for this, as I'll show you this. You set the ground rules up front so you, if you're the client, you're not at work, oh my gosh, so-and-so has just sent me a message, I better answer it. No, I don't want you to look at that when there's a million things happening. I want you to look at that when you're sitting around at home, or you're relaxing, or you're in a line to pick up your kid at school, because that'll mean more. The most effective mHealth technology was used that saw positive outcomes. Wait till you see this. It's the next one. Actually, it's coming up. So the best way of getting behavior change is through combinations. And if a significant amount of the population is using technology and you're trying to work with them, not using that is handicapping you, because you're going to see some stats that show how many people value that information for their health. So the combination of these collaborating with them, effectively providing feedback. Some people want the social, not everybody, right? Am I right about that? Some people do. Don't think everybody does. I'm the Chief Science Officer for Nudge, and we work with groups, and all of them want to start, guess what kind of challenges? Step challenges, right? Step challenges. Oh, we're going to get them to do a step challenge. And then we're going to team them up. And so as soon as that's heard, the person who really loves that, has been walking forever, is trying to find all the other walkers to team up with, because they want to win that prize. And all the other ones know, well, they're not going to pick me. Remember those days? They're not going to pick you? They're not going to pick you, so you're over there with this team of people that don't walk, and there goes that whole negative cycle of behavior change. Now, but that doesn't mean some people aren't stimulated by that. Just like some people like to go to the gymnasium to work out, some people don't. Some people like to cook all their food, bring it to their work, some people don't. Everyone is different. We have to find a way that fits them best in the combination with this technology and behavior science. Okay, cracking the code. Ooh, this is it. This is the big one. Cracking the code. Get your pens ready. All right. So I'm just trying to help you visualize the importance of you in this entire process. The research shows it cannot happen without you or someone that's attached to you that is a professional, a health professional. So you have the technology, you have the patient or the client, and then you have the health professional. And the research shows that for it to most be effective, it cannot be standalone. It has to be combined. So there has to be this interaction. There has to be this ability for you to gain this information. Without technology, unless you are a one-on-one, practitioner getting $100,000 to stay with somebody or whatever you're getting, one patient, it's just not going to happen. There has to be something else that allows you to do this and allows you to do it efficiently and effectively with multiple people. So technology is a resource that allows you to do this. The right technology will allow this. Because the patient wants this guidance. That's the kind of people we work with, right? They're the people that want to do these kind of things. They want your guidance. A lot of times they bring this stuff to us, don't they? They bring things, they're out there online finding stuff, and they're excited about it, and they want this. They want well-being. They want quality of life. So there's this collaboration that you have to have with them that is impossible to have unless there's a way to tether with them. It goes back to that first slide with the iceberg. I mean, think of when you're sitting knee to knee with somebody, or on the phone or telemedicine, whatever you're doing, and you're asking about recall, right? You're trying to find a recall, how was your nutrition this week, or last 30 days, and what was that like, and how was your carb intake, and, did you look at A, B, C, D? They're like, yeah, this, that, and the other thing. What's the reliability of that? It's extremely low. If they don't jot these things down at the time, or at least within 24 hours, you can't really rely on it. I mean, I can remember my mother, who was I can talk about her because she can't hear very well either, and she's not here. I can remember she was always on some kind of a diet, but she always had those logs, right? She was logging everything. So when it comes to nutrition, we're finding easier ways to log, but she never had anybody helping her. Never. Nobody ever looked at those logs except her. Fast forward to today, you can look at those logs, and you can get them more easy. And you get that information so you can provide that feedback proactively before you see a train wreck. So, I've said this before, so who can do it in your practice? You, support staff, contract labor. Health coaching industry is booming right now. It's booming with health coaches. It's booming with health coaches. A lot of them are out of work. It's hard to be a health coach. Some of them try to do it without technology. Some do a great job with technology. But using technology, we call it remote health coaching, remote is totally different than if you're doing it knee to knee with somebody. And so there are some other techniques. So there are ways of doing this. Depending on, it can fit in anybody's practice model. Depending on what you have, it will fit in. So what? So what about all this technology? Well, I'm just going to give you, I think there's 5 little studies that show different areas that mHealth was successful more successful than not using it. Diabetes. This was published in the Canadian Journal of Diabetes, that apps with online review of glucose records required less time and was associated with improved glucose control versus ones that did not use this technology. Works. As a matter of fact, the company called, I will remember. It'll come up. Their whole technology is all about diabetes prevention program. If you know it, no, that might be it, but not the one I'm thinking of. Looking at pain management. Whoops. More steps were less pain, so they were using their apps and they were using technology to monitor their steps, and they were finding out that the more steps and more activity they had, the less pain. And the ones who used the apps were more likely to have more steps. Cardiovascular risk. This is the one I was thinking about before when I was so excited. This one got me really excited because if you look at, this was impact of physical activity, and is after cardiac rehab. So the person made it through their cardiac rehab program with flying colors, they got stickers, gold stars. But then what happens is they go back into their old way of life. Because there was really no behavior change going on. It was just part of the thing you got to do. You got to go to cardiac rehab. Oh, I'm done. Got to go. A lot of times it's also because insurance doesn't cover anymore, so they got to stop. But what they found is that, yes, there's a decrease. Whoops, sorry. Yes, there was a decrease in activity for the mHealth group, the group that used apps and used Health Coach. But it was only 16 minutes less a week. But the not doing anything for these people, they pretty much stopped. They were doing less than before. That is not a good outcome. That is not good. So here's a great example. A great example of how technology can help. So let's look at cardiovascular disease. There was this big trial, Text Me trials, and they talked about using some kind of lifestyle-focused messaging versus none, basically. And there was an increased improvement in the levels, a number of levels, but the ones I just pointed out here with the LDLs. Cardiac rehab, another one, had to do with continuous glucose monitors. Those are hot now. Love continuous glucose monitors. They are, some of our patients we work with use them, and they report, we talk about it, and they'll see the things that cause them to make these huge changes, and this knowledge is huge. Even though, you know what we were telling about that banana, right? We were saying, kind of might want to avoid the banana. Dr. Steve, you should have saw the spike I had after I had that banana. Okay, you're wearing that. That's good, whatever it takes. Or seeing that doing interval training helped balance their blood sugars that day. Very powerful. And they showed the results in this group with cardiac rehab as well. The other couple here have to do with the roadmap for behavior change and how mHealth has shown in research and in randomized trials here to have a positive impact. Again, with versus without texting, and it supported, this mHealth supported these behavior changes. So hopefully you're starting to get the thing like, okay, Dr. Steve, you're showing us these things, you're beating a dead horse. I want you to believe this. Older adults. Now, I questioned this study very much. Why do you think I questioned it? Older adults? Come on, 58? That's not older adults. Maybe I'm dyslexic. Maybe it's supposed to be 85. I don't think that's older adults. But wearable activities are perceived useful and acceptable. Okay, that's an important part, as you'll see later. Users said that they may need support to set up the device and learn how to interpret that data, but they found it useful. And I believe this last one has to do with behavioral goals and allowing this feedback when they're away from us. So keep that in mind. Picture that iceberg. They're away from you so long. I can remember going to the doctor, an older doctor that I had, not that he was old. I think he was under 58. But I was sitting there, and he said to me, so how you doing? Doing good. Looks like you gained a little weight. Yeah, I gained a little weight. How's your exercise? Oh, it's okay. How's your eating? Yeah, it's okay. All right, Steve, exercise more and eat less, and I'll see you in 6 months. That doesn't do anything with behavior change. Because I went out there and it's like, oh, my doctor wanted me to do that. The old model where it's doctor down, the doctor tells you everything and then you do everything? That doesn't happen anymore because we learned about behavior change and it has to be right for the person that's doing it. So when you have technology, you can match up better with the patient. You can connect with them easily and support them. You can give them data-supported feedback. I would hate it if I had to tell somebody, you know what, just exercise more and eat less, when I don't know anything about them. When I have someone come to my office that's a new patient, and if they have a wearable device or something, I'll ask them, to show me the data. If they don't, then I'll say, well, I'd like you to, download this app, and for a week, I want you to wear it. If we're talking about physical activity is the easiest way to start, just so everybody knows. Physical activity is the easiest thing because it's a passive collection of data. It's the old Ron Popeil with the fryer, set it and forget it. You take the chicken, you put it in, you set it, and the whole crowd says, set it and forget it. Same thing. Put the wearable on or just download the app, you set it and forget it, put it in your pocket. They're always going to have it on them. I want to see you in a week. I want to see your data in a week. And I can see it remotely, set myself a little reminder, look at it in a week. So then I can give some data that's specific to them and not just saying, hey, you got to walk more. You don't know what they're doing. So that's what's so nice about technology. You can get real feedback on their real data. Perception and reality can go both ways, but they have to match. And we can nudge them so that they may think they're great in their nutrition, but then you start analyzing their data and it's like, whoa, that's not the same. Because they're basing it all on recall. if there's ways we can do it that are more accurate at the time. Set up a motivational environment, and you can be more effective and efficient. So it's using this triad. It's using that triad and balancing it out. Hey, balancing it out. Have to be my next slide. So remember, it's not just dictating one way or the other. It's balancing the people skills you have with the technology. You don't want the technology to be the driving factor. And that, unfortunately, is what a lot of companies that employ technology want to happen. Or people say, well, I want to use your app, I want to use that app, I want to use that platform. Can you set it up so it sends messages? I remember I was on a platform, a discussion roundtable, and sitting next to this health expert who has a tech company, and she was saying that, I kid you not, she says that, yeah, they have it all set up automated. And somebody asked them, well, how many messages? Well, each person's set up to get 300 messages a week. And they said, a week? And they were like, yeah, a week. So I'm thinking, okay, a year maybe, 2 years, every 2 years. So I'm thinking, nah, that's not what technology, but people were buying it. People were buying the platform because you could say, hey, we can have 1,000 patients we're working with. We'll just set them all up, and they'll just get things blasted out to them. That's not working. I can promise you that's not working because the response to that is not real. So when we're talking about this, we always want to make sure that we're talking about something that's simple, easy, and safe, HIPAA compliant, easy to use, you're going to find, and that you're using it to connect with them. And there's been some research on this about the simplicity. And because this is a continuing education, you're going to get credits for this. Lucky I'm not testing you at the end. I used to teach at ASU. And I tell my daughter, an 89 is a B. A 90 is an A. And that's how I am. So, simplicity. The roadmap. The key component is the health app has to have good functionality. Don't think just because it's a popular app that it's the best app. It has to have functionality to it, to you. It has to have perceived usefulness and ease of use. Easy is good. Simple is good. Simple is the best. If you look at, and I'm going to at the end give you like 3 platforms that you can go out and investigate. I'll give you some information on them. You got to look at the simplicity of it for you and for the person. If it's too complicated, they won't do it. I've had people come to me that want to do nutrition logs on an app, and they're so gung-ho about it. They say, well, I just want to do it for like, I don't know, a month or 2. And I'm like, if you do it for just 1 day, that would be helpful. But yeah, you can get them to nudge you more. But it's hard to do those things if it's complicated. If it's easy, it's a lot better. Usefulness, the degree at which the individual perceives, this will enhance them personally. What is it going to do for me, baby? What is it going to do for me? If I'm just going to be keeping track of stuff and no one's going to look at it, why would I keep track of things? Now, there are people that like to do that. I'm not kidding you. Maybe you're like that. That's okay. Because you're self-motivated, and that's part of it. But not everyone wants to do that. They want somebody to see it. The majority do. The degree at which the individual believes that this particular system will be free of physical and mental effort. Simplicity. Okay, simplicity. It has to be simple. So which patients of yours might use this? Which clients? You might have been thinking the whole time, well, I'm not going to have a lot of people that want to do this. It's ridiculous. They don't like phones. They don't bring a phone in. They don't like to wear things on their wrists. I got nobody. They're not going to want to, message me or. And that's very true. And actually, that's normal. When we work with groups and they say, you know what, we only got, 15, 20% of the people to download the app in the first, month and work with us. I'm like, that's awesome. You don't want to be messing with the other 85% right now because they weren't ready. There's something else going on. You got to work your way into that. And unfortunately, success is oftentimes dictated by how many people are signed up for your program, how many people you got hooked in. That's not success. The success is being able to see where they are, nurture them along to where they will become an active participant in what you're doing. So if you look at the greatest research, the most research done on a trans-theoretical model since the 80s, I did my dissertation on this many years ago, and I could laugh when I was doing it. And now, looking back, I never thought I would be so ingrained in this, in what I do. But it really, my advisor was right. This is where it's at. So, if people aren't ready, it's the same thing with everything, really. If they're not ready to use technology, that's good. We know that there's people in different areas in general. When we look at health, these are generalizations for nutrition, physical activity, sleep, people that are interested in making changes. So, you get that 15% that's ready to do it, the 15, the 35. Those are the ones that are ready to start doing things with you. Oh. So, let's cut to the chase. How do we harness the power? How do we actually harness this power? I'd like to back off and mention this. I was speaking at the Functional Medicine Conference a few years back, and I knew that I was going to get a lot of questions about, these things are not safe. Dr. Steve, you're an idiot. You're putting them on. You got a couple of them on your wrist. You're going to die. And then I saw some of the other professionals in our field. I'm like, she's wearing one, she's wearing one, he's wearing one. These are experts in our field. I know that these hotshots aren't going to be wearing these if they're going to kill them. So I said I was going to do some research on this. And I'm not an expert in the area of ionizing radiation. Okay, I'm not. But I do know enough about it that I've seen The Incredible Hulk. Have you seen The Incredible Hulk? Gamma rays, right? Gamma rays. Those are bad, okay? Explosions, nuclear bombs, really bad down there. Whoop. And then we've got microwaves, which some of you may not have them, some of you may. And then you have these radio waves. We're down here, okay? We're on these non-ionizing radiation, and with the research that's out right now, this could change. I'm not saying that you put 2 cell phones and strap them on your head and walk around. I'm saying you shut them off, at night. You move them away. You don't sleep by them. Oftentimes it's better, to use your phone here, then you don't have to put the phone up at your ear. Those kind of things. So you can be smart about it. But my thought is this, is the benefit of connecting with a physician or a health coach or a nutritionist or whoever, using an app or something, and getting them healthy and them getting healthy, and you can, is way outweighs the chance of you dying from this when you're 147. Okay? It's not. Now, when I'm long and gone, maybe they'll say something different, but that's what I say right now. And I'm backed by the studies that are out right now. The next question I always get is accuracy, Dr. Steve. How accurate are these darn things? When I go out and walk, I walk next to my significant other, and she always gets 10,475, and I get 10,328. What's going on? Or they get 29 minutes of high-level intensity, and I only get 4. Okay, there's differences, in our stride length and so on. There's differences with this equipment. And we're not talking in most of the time about medical devices, right? Although we're getting more FDA-approved devices, but we're not talking about medical devices. So if you're training for the Olympics and every heartbeat makes a difference, what you got to do is you got to wear one of these. Got to wear one of these, like a Garmin with a strap on, so that it's very much more accurate when you're working out, and you can do more specific heart rate. If you're having trouble with your heart, you need to see a cardiologist, and you need to probably have a Holter monitor put on, not rely on a Fitbit and the heart rates on it. it's going to give you a good enough amount. It's going to give you good enough information because you compare it to what you normally would get as a professional from the person you're working with. This goes way beyond for what we're used to doing. And there's research that backs this up. There's some specific research with marathon runners that found the reliability and accuracy high, and I just put one of those on there. So if we look at, we've got those group of people, how are we going to get that adoption? How would they want to do this? How would they want to adopt this? And this is for you too. It has to be within your comfort zone. Don't get the most elaborate platform. When we talk about platforms, and I'll show you some in a minute here, we're talking about ways that you get this information coming to you, where you can see it in an easy way, where you can set up different alerts that say, okay, this person is out of a certain parameter with whatever you're measuring, and I want an alert about that so that I can get to them sooner than later. There has to be purposes to the data tracking for both you and for them. If you're just having them track certain things that aren't going to be used by you, don't have them track it. You're wasting your time and theirs. And I'm going to go to the next one. So let's talk about these things that what can be measured. This slide you have in your deck, it just goes through, okay, so where do you start? Where do you start with all these measuring? I mean, there's so many things that can be measured. There's so many sensors, and they're changing all the time. It can be mind-boggling. That's what I'm saying. Step back. Don't think you're going to try to monitor everything. What's important to that person, what's important to you, that's what you monitor. There's many different things that can be useful to you, and so don't think you have to do all of these. Go back. I can give you this slide. These slides are all on the deck. That's on the app. And I can help you download that app. I know how to do it. Okay, these are the things that can be measured. Okay, flights of stairs, steps, distance. Those are the simple things. Those are the easy things. Heart rate, getting much more accurate too. Activity intensity, gold mine with this one. When Fitbit first came out with their little Fitbit, the little round one, I loved it. Okay, the little round one, people would click them on their butt. Love that thing. But it didn't give you intensity of movement. It just gave you, they had X amount of steps. And one of my pet peeves is the 10,000 steps. So it's a great motivator for some people, but I would rather have somebody do 5,000 steps during intervals or walking fast or doing something at a higher intensity to get their heart rate up than being the old, not the Greek. I remember being in Greece and watching the Greek guys walking around like this. And they probably get 40,000 steps a day. But I would rather see somebody getting about 5,000, but going faster. Caloric expenditure. Sleep health, a boom. Sleep. These little apps are amazing that you put on your phone for sleep. Posture. Posture's one. I actually have one right here. It's called LumoLift. I think this is LumoLift. What it does is if you lean forward, it gives you a little zap. It does. It makes you straighten back up. And it trains you to sit up straight. It's just a little magnet that goes on your shirt. And you can get them on Amazon. The company got bought out by another company, which I think is called Posture. I'll find what it is, but there's a competitor that bought them out. You can still find these, so I love them. I like to let my patients use them, loan them out for a week or two. The ones that are computer programmers and are doing this, and they need to be reminded that they need to sit up straight. Okay, sedentary measurement, sun exposure, UV patch. I have a slide of that at the end to show you this UV patch. You put a little patch on you. It's like a Band-Aid. And you put the app and look at it, and it can tell you how the UV exposure was. There's also one that you can wear on your lapel. Diet, nutrition, body composition. I happen to have the InBody wearable on right now. It's the InBody measures, this is the number one. The number two is out now. InBody, I'm sorry, I-N-B-O-D-Y, InBody. And I have these written up here in a minute. Accuracy of that, I'm hoping that the second version is more accurate. But it's more information. It also does all the other things like fitness things that you could imagine. Muscular movement. EMGs, there's a company called Athos. And I'll show you that at the end as well. They have clothing that has sensors in it. And for movement, there's also companies that you buy little sensors, and it's like $750 for the. If I was involved in rehab or something, these would be awesome. I can get the name. I think it's called ZEP, Z-E-P-P. These little sensors that you put on, and it calculates through EMG the movement, the posture. So you have people do different movements. With the Athos, basically it tells you how you're firing muscles, how you're moving. It's a great, very expensive though. That one's really expensive. That's like $700 for one suit, and you don't want to share that, you know. Stress, hydration. I forgot my hydration bottle that I bought specifically for this event. It's one that measures water, and you put it on an app, and it reminds you. You know, it keeps track of the times you fill it up to make sure that you're drinking enough water. EKG, I'm going to talk about that more with the Apple Watch. Blood pressure. Just yesterday, a wearable company announced something about blood pressure. Blood glucose, breathing rate, heart rate variability, heart rate recovery, all of those things. So here are the questions you need to ask about what is the best wearable tracker? I get that question all the time. I love answering it because the first question really says the most. What will the patient or client wear? What are they going to wear? If they don't wear jewelry, they're not going to wear something on their wrist. You don't want to force them to. You don't want to say you have to wear this is what you have. No. They have to have something else. What will they wear? What won't they wear? Do they want a watch? I had a gentleman who wanted a wearable, but he likes his designer watch. So he wanted something a little bit more designer. So he wanted the Withings, and I happen to have the Withings on. The Withings came out with a new one too. So the Withings looks more like a regular old-fashioned watch. Doesn't give as much information on the face of it. You got to go to the app, but it's a good activity monitor. The newer ones that came out, actually they just announced these since the first of the year, new ones coming out. What is to be tracked? What are you trying to, if we're talking about wearables, not apps here, what is to be tracked? How long of a battery life? I always ask people that. Are you willing to set the thing on a charger at night? It seems pretty easy, doesn't it? But it's hard to, some of us forget. And then if you forget on the Apple Watch, the new one goes 2 days. I can go 2 days with mine. But the old one, it would be not good the next morning when you saw it sitting out on the counter. Okay, so let them know that. Because Garmin has great battery life on their wearables. Probably the best in the industry. Will it connect with a HIPAA platform? We all want to be safe with the data. And what is the price range? Okay, I could tell you right now with pretty good certainty, the more you spend, the better you're going to get. The more accuracy you're going to get. Doesn't mean that you have to have the most expensive one, but some of them do more than what people need. Okay, so know what you're going to be testing. And I wanted to show this, and this was a question before I was started, is, there's just this huge outburst of wearables, right? There's just, everywhere you look, there's some company doing wearables, and then some companies are falling to the wayside. Well, this was interesting that, the highest number of new devices was found in 2015, and this was done in 2018. They're starting to come down now. I think one of the reasons are the big guys are gobbling up all the little guys, okay? And the people that we work with are getting smarter. They're knowing that I'm not going to waste my time on a certain wearable I'm not going to wear. It's sitting in my dresser. Okay, they're not going to use it. Or they're not using them, and people aren't buying them because they don't have the health professional. So every year, there's differences that are going to help you as a practitioner. And 5 of the most used wearables out there, you could probably guess: Fitbit, Garmin, Misfit, Apple, and Polar. All good devices. And I have those. I'm going to give you more information about those. I'm going to skim through this one. I'm not going to go over each one of these. At the end, I have them. but you have that slide. If I could just point out, ResMed does a great sleep device that you set next to your bed, and there's a little platform that goes under your bed, a little, it's like a piece of fabric goes under your bed, and it measures movement. It's very accurate with sleep. There's also some really good apps. Sleep Time, I believe it's called, is you set it next to your bed, and you put the recorder on, and you put the sound on, and it uses that. And I was told that I snored, but I didn't believe it until I heard it on the app. So you might want to use that. So I want you to go online and pick out the best app. ResMed, R-E-S-M-E-D. It's a device and an app. Is called Sleep Health, and I have this coming up. 320,000, and this is the most recent I could find at the end of, it was kind of middle of 2018. That's a lot of apps. My gosh. So no wonder we're not integrating them. So let's narrow this down to just 200,000. So here's some of them. Sleep Time, Fitbit, you may recognize these. This one's very powerful, almost too powerful right now. Scaring people. That's the health app that we all have on our phones. This is the old, this one just recently changed, the Google Fit app. Not as powerful as the Apple app, and I'll tell you why. Apple's putting everything they have in health. That's their vision. They are the leaders. They are putting the money in. They are the innovators. Keep your eye on Apple. They're the ones at the head of the spear. Everyone else is following behind. This is the Nudge app. This is the one that I'm involved with. The Pillow, it's a sleep one. Withings. Headspace is a meditation app. Under Armour bought MyFitnessPal. Calm is a stress and a sleep app. And who knows what that one is? Strava. Most popular cycling one, Strava. It's a great app. A lot of people use it. The orange heart is it's the old Google, and I've got the new one coming up, the Google Fit. So what are the questions for picking on an app? So we know that it's for a wearable, it's what they're going to use, what you're going to measure. So what needs to be tracked? So if you're personally trying to pick out an app, what am I going to track? You don't have to get an app that tracks everything or does everything. And if you're a professional, what do you want to use with the patient? Or what are they already using? Because if you get the right platform, it doesn't matter which one you want them to use. If they're using it, you can pull in that data and it'll kind of equal it all out so you understand what it says. Is the data presented intuitively? So does it look like it makes sense? How many steps are involved in putting in data? Simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. The more things that can be done, and unfortunately we're not quite at that level. We're getting close. Apple's getting close to being able to measure glucose on their watch. Very close with frequencies. That's going to be a game changer. Don't tell anybody I told you that. Does it sync with wearables that you like? I mean, it makes sense. Overall, does it seem simple or complex? Is the data pushed to the platform, meaning does it automatically come in, or does the patient or the client have to automatically send stuff to you, or can it automatically be done? And I know a lot of you are writing these down, but you have that information. Here's what I was talking about before, is that Twine Health, Fitbit bought Twine Health and is now combining. Fruit Street is the one. How could I forget that? Fruit Street, glucose, diabetes. That's all they do, and they're good at it. So these are platforms. These are things that bring in this information that you as a practitioner would use to get this information and look at it. HealthSnap, very good platform for a very comprehensive platform. Can be a little complicated, but it's good if once you get used to it. The Red Brick is combined with Virgin Records. There's Virgin everything now. Virgin Records, not Virgin Records, Virgin Pulse. Yeah, sorry. And Nudge Coach is the one that I work with. There's a ton of these, but I want to point out 5 of them. Yes?
Health, HeartMath.
HeartMath, yes, HeartMath is a good app. Yes, HeartMath, I don't have that one up here, very good app. There's a lot of these. These are something that when you look at the ones I narrow it down to, I'm going to give you a couple more later. These are kind of the questions you would ask yourself when you're looking at it. Because everybody's going to have a different reason why they want it. What do I want or need to best serve my patients? Okay, then I'm going to skip down to number 5. Is the platform complicated or simple? I promise you, if you purchase a complicated platform that does too much for you, you will not use it. It will be a nightmare. Do something simple. And then, is there built-in communication? Most of them have it now to where right through the platform you can communicate back and forth. And the reason why that's important, you don't want to be texting your patients or your clients or nudging them through text messaging, not just because it's not safe, that information, if it starts to get medical, but how many text messages do we get in a day? We don't want our message to get lost. We want them to know how important it is. We want them to know that, hey, when Steve texts you, I'm not going to just blow something at you, just, hey, having a good day, or, walk more. It's going to be something specific that I use from the data. Looks like you did this. Great job. Try to add another this. So they know. So then they know that later on when they look at it, it's important. But they know that they're going to see the little pop-up. They got a message from their health coach on their little app. Let me go down to, will the platform integrate with your current model, what you're doing, the kind of business you have, the kind of practice you have? Does or will the platform use some machine learning? Meaning as simple as a smart list, as a list that says, okay, here are the parameters. If the patient or the client falls or goes above or goes below these numbers for 3 consecutive days, alert me. So I don't have to be going into their information like I used to do when I first started. And I go into they give me their logins and passwords for Fitbit or whatever, and then they change it and I couldn't get in. And it was a disaster. So it has to incorporate some artificial intelligence, so you just have to kind of be alerted. So this is where you save time. Alerts you to maybe somebody you need to address. And is it HIPAA secure, obviously? Okay, enhancing where we are now, the trends, and what to expect. This is the one I mentioned at the beginning that I have to show you. Willingness to share health data. Look at this. Doctor, health professional, about 90%. That's pretty great, hey? I think the other 10% probably shared something with their professional and got nothing from it. They said, oh, that looks good. I'll just exercise more and make sure you don't eat a lot of carbs. But I love this one. I don't know why it went up, but it went up. Willingness to track things. Willingness and people are tracking things. Not many people are going to say no. If they know, if they think that the wearables are going to help them with their health condition, what is it going to do for me? You can't just bury your head in the sand when it comes to technology. And if you do, I'm a straight shooter, you're wasting a lot of your time. You could become so much more powerful that you can have, if you want more people to work with, you could. If you don't want to work with more people, you want to work with who you work and you want to do it more efficiently, and you want to spend more time in Arizona or somewhere, that's what you can do. All right, here's the Fast 5. Making technology work for you. Have an open mind. Have an open mind. Use the science and the art of what you do best. Know that upfront time. You may say, oh, I got to get this platform. I got to help people, download the app, or I have to get somebody to do it, or I have to spend time walking through making a video that shows them, or maybe the company gives you a video to show them how to upload the app or how to do it. It's going to be a little bit more time up front, but it's going to save you time in the long run. I can promise you that. Understand mind share in technology. Understand that we all have a pie. And I've been using this in my practice. We all have a pie. And there's something in there for all of us that's filling that. When you ask somebody, hey, how you doing? I'm so busy. Oh, I'm so busy. And you're thinking, they're busy. I'm busy. We're all busy. I always like to say I'm busy doing stuff I love to do, so I like to be busy. That's good. So how are you going to present this to them where they say, Steve, I'm going to take 1% of this little sliver of staying up on social media, and I'm going to give it to you, and we're going to work together with changing our lifestyle. It has to be powerful. It has to mean something to them for them to give a little sliver of their time, of their mind share to you. Because it's behind the other one. See, this one is a proprietary slide. It's a pie. I'd be happy to give anyone that if you send me your email address and $5, and I will send you. No, I'd be happy to send you that. Really, just come up afterwards. Keep it simple is the last one. This is not something I'm going over because it's too much detail that I just wanted you to have these slides, which is good. But it just has to do with setting the tone. Because remember, not everyone's going to want to jump into it, so you have to set the tone with them. And I put down some ways that actually, kind of in the conversation, some prompts you might want to use. It's about you. We really care about you. Even when you're not in the clinic, even when we're not on the phone, that's when I care about you most, Mrs. Johnson. And it's true. And you have these slides. This is a template for you to use for setting the parameters. Setting the parameters of the engagement. Very important to do that. So this is just a template. Like, don't use this communication if you've fallen and can't get up. Okay? This is not for emergencies. Make sure your app, this is a really important one. If you're working with an app, have your person put it on their home screen, the first screen on their phone. Because what happens with the alerts, like on the next screen? Who sees them? You don't see them until you're laying down a week later and you're flipping through and you're like, oh, I got 4 messages from my health coach. Make them put it on that was one of the biggest things I learned in not one of the biggest things, but it was a big thing. And then set expectations, Set them, I'm not going to get back to you within 24 to 48 hours. So this is asynchronous. When you're ready. Now, I usually always get back to them quicker, but I let them know it might take a while. It's up to you. It's up to you what you want to do. So use a stepped approach. And you must see the data. Okay, I'm going to go to the fast. It's right here. Hot off the press. These are things that I added. You do not have any of these slides because we have to put these slides in like 4 months ago. And I'm a tech guy, and it's ridiculous. But the continued education credits and so on. So this is stuff that came out within the last 4 months, most of it just since the first of the year. The EKG on the Apple Watch. FDA approved. We use it in our practice. It works. It's easy to do. Patients love it. It has already saved some of our patients from going into the emergency room. So the physician can talk to them and say, okay, it looks like you're in AFib. You just put your finger on it. It works. It takes about 30 seconds. It'll do a reading. If you have one, who has an Apple Watch in here? Level 4. Who's got the number 4? It's worth it. The 4 is worth it. I'm telling you, I waited since the 1 for the 4. It'll say whether you have sinus rhythm or you're a normal rhythm, your sinus rhythm, AFib, or it's inconclusive. And then it'll give you an alert. It'll also monitor you. So if you have a patient or you're working with somebody who may have AFib and they're like, oh, I feel something, something's going on. It's got to be AFib. Well, this is going to monitor you in the background. If it finds that there's some irregularities, it'll run an EKG on you without you even knowing it. And it'll alert you. It'll say, hey, you may want to talk to somebody about this. And the reason why it's worth it is because there's a new titanium electrode on the back. It also has fall detection. Very nice. If you fall, you don't say or get up or say something. It'll call emergency and get back to you and do that in 60 seconds. Withings just came out just yesterday, and said they now have FDA approval to do an EKG on theirs. And this watch will help. Remember I told you the patient who wants one that looks more like a watch? Perfect. There's something for everybody. Omron, the heart guide, just came out with this. Just got FDA approved for this. Just happened. Blood pressure on the wrist. Now, cardiologists don't agree with that. They say it can't be accurate. I'm going to go with the tech people. Samsung. Samsung just came out yesterday, too. Yesterday. Blood pressure on a watch. They haven't said how they're going to do it, though. They say it's coming out in May, but they don't know. They won't tell anybody, so I'm a little iffy with that. Withings has a new, it's not out yet, it's coming out this year. They have a new blood pressure cuff that has a digital stethoscope built in it. These are great. They're all high over there. They're finishing early. Almost done. Muse. Anybody use the Muse? Muse is great. A friend of mine has it, loves it. It's EEG for meditation. You get an app. It helps you center yourself. You got to try to keep the waves in the right spot. Or I think the sound is a sounder, and he loves it. It's great. Withings Smart Scale. Some of the Smart Scales are good. Just be careful with them. I usually like to check them on, like I have an in-body in my office. I have people bring them in, and then we kind of take a look at them. But this one also does heart rate and temperature. Very good. So if you're looking for recommendations, the Apple Watch by far. The Charge 3, the Versa, or the Iconic, similar to the more of an Apple Watch kind of. This one's like, I want to say, that's like 130 to 200, like 250. And I have a couple of them on right now. Anybody have the Motive Ring? Really good for sleep. Probably one of the best things to measure sleep.
Same as Aura?
Yes, same as Aura. And it's a ring with the sensors. Apple Health is a great app for the phone. It can be a little bit complicated because you look at it and it's like, do you want to share all of your health information with Apple? And you're like, what? No, I don't want to share all my health information. I don't want to share it with anybody. But with the health data, it's really good. It is good. And it takes a little bit of time. Google Fit, they're not as, they teamed up with the American Heart Association. They're not as health related. It's more fitness side, but they do a good job for the Androids. Here's that Athos wearable clothing. Just recently, Under Armour's teaming up with headphones and the Galaxy Watch and an app, Map My Run, and the shoe with sensors in the shoe. Cool. Here's that skin sensor. You can wear one, or there's the patch. This one is just like a little device you put on your swimsuit or whatever, and it measures it, and it tells you. Here are 3 good platforms to look at. Besides those other ones I showed you, those couple other ones, these are 3 really good ones to look at. Very good. Better Health. Healthy is very good, and so is the Nudge Coach. And actually, look at this. This is out May of, how did Dr. Steve get this? He's in the future. I got a sneak preview online of this. But Fitness Track uses increased perceived physical health. We want psychological well-being. Now we're looking at how trackers can help that. So there's a research project coming out. And so, if anybody wants those slides, I am more than happy, really, to send you those last few. But I left my email addresses on all those slides that you have. It was a pleasure. I have a couple minutes maybe for 1 or 2 questions. Otherwise, I'll sit out front and answer them. Yes? Thank you.